Now, Natalie, there's been a lot of talk here about the famous 400 million, 600 million US Australian dollars airplane from Qatar. Tell us the take from the White House on what's behind that. Why isn't this seen as some kind of, unacceptable or inappropriate? What's the thinking in Washington?
Well, look, I think people are pretty quick to point out the double standard, right? It seems like democratic corruption always takes place behind closed doors. It's clandestine, and maybe add a few more zeros onto that. Personally, I think within the MAGA base, there's been a bit of aversion, I think, to taking gifts from Qatar, obviously being in some cases not just an outright or covert, state sponsor of terrorism. I think the criticisms are valid, but I think the hypocrisy from the legacy media in terms of choosing to report on this, while not just remaining silent, that's a charitable depiction, but sometimes going out of their way to launch robust censorship operations of stories that were critical of the business dealings of, say, Hunter Biden, or frankly, most Democratic politicians and their family members. This deal is like child's play compared to that. But make no mistake, there is an element of pushback, I think, even from within the MAGA wing of the Republican Party to this deal, obviously, to Qatar for whether it's Hamas or other reasons.
Now, I want to go into the bigger issue. Peter Hegseth is there as well, talking about wokeness being removed from the army, the wokeness and weakness of the past being removed from the army. This is the new US peace through strength. Have a listen to Pete Hegseth.
We are leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that.
So this is the whole MAGA agenda. It's fantastic to hear. And I guess, Natalie, the question is, can this Middle East vision of Trump's, what happens with Iran? Can a nuclear deal be struck which guarantees that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon? And is this why it's so important for America to portray strength, getting rid of all the old ideology of Biden's woke nonsense, and really being about the guarantee of Middle East peace is American strength? Is that correct?
Well, look, again, I think those remarks are long overdue, right? It's common sense foreign policy, whether it's stopping the neocon interventionism or just the promotion of people because of their genders or whatever within the armed forces. But I think who's really being, I would say, triggered by comments like these, really feeling a chill down their spine, it's the Chinese Communist Party, because they know that America actually means business again, right? And it's not just the wokeness and the weakness of the DEI hires, it's the full-out infiltration, if not outright invasion, of foreign assets and spies and covert assets within the ranks of the Defense Department, like we saw that happen under Joe Biden with Iranian assets, or even more broadly across all of really Washington, D.C., with Chinese Communist Party infiltration. So together you finally have a Defense Department that I think is primarily taking on the China threat, which is something that Joe Biden couldn't even have done if he wanted to. And from that, I think you see a difference of engagement with Iran. You see a difference of sort of rapprochement with Russia, right? It's a reorientation of global alliances, not to necessarily alienate these countries and push them further into the sphere of influence that's, headed by the Chinese Communist Party, but to try to bring them into, shall we call it, the golden age, the golden era of not just domestic politics, but international politics. And in order to do that, you have to have a Defense Department that is capable of putting America first. And Joe Biden just was not capable of doing that.
Natalie, so I still want to press on the idea of whether a deal can be done with Iran that is different to the Obama-Biden deal, which kind of allows Iran to push its nuclear ambitions kind of into the future, but not in the present. What will Trump's Iran deal look like, or what are you hearing that it could look like?
Well, I think the fundamental difference is that the people who will be negotiating on behalf of him are not hardcore in the Iran camp, right? They're in the America-aligned camp. It's not this sort of decades-long push that I think you've seen a lot of academics, a lot of think tanks be bought off here. And sometimes it was the negotiators in the room under Joe Biden, right? His special envoy to Iran, Robert Malley, getting, secretly, surreptitiously sacked, removed of his position. No one really ever ended up knowing why, suspended without pay. In terms of movements on there, they've been pretty tight-lipped about it, but frankly, I think that's always been kind of President Trump's go-to. I think you'll really know negotiations are underway when you probably start seeing the Truth Social posts and stuff like that. But I think for now, they're really focused more so on the Gulf states, which in and of itself is sort of a reverse or inverse reaction to everything that's going on in Iran. But I also think, too, that it is inextricably linked to taking on the Chinese Communist Party and Russia in Ukraine as well. So I would not be surprised if you see some overlapping with what's going on with those countries, too.
Fantastic. Natalie Winters, always great to chat to you. Thanks so much for staying up and chatting to us there from Washington.